Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Oh Heck Nah, a Naked and Afraid podcast. I'm MaLu Beyonce, and this is
Gabe.
And Gabe, those are a lot of words, but it's worth it. This show was really good.
Yes, the producers were like, we need to make this memorable, so put in as many words in there as possible. And you managed to get them all. I cannot enunciate that well.
It's a lot of words, but you know what? I really felt like this show got back to the meat of Last One Standing. Even though it was really dramatic last week and we had a dramatic start, it felt more like the old Last One Standing, right?
Yeah. I mean, like season 1, Last One Standing was very chaotic. Maybe like Last One Standing season 2, which was, in my opinion, a little bit better. But yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yes. So let's get it started. Now, on our last episode, we didn't talk a lot about Max tapping, but it was so obvious because he said, I can go left, I can go right, but I think I have another choice. So they gave it away that we knew he was leaving. So it was no big shock to me.
Yeah, I was surprised they got to it so fast. It's just episode start, drama, I'm going home. And I'm just like, that fast? Or no build-up, just he's going home. Okay, bye.
And did you see someone made a post about Max's chest hair?
Oh, yeah, how during his on-the-fly interview, he had a hairy chest, but then when he went to go talk to the cams, his chest was shaved and stuff like that.
Yes. And I would just like to point out, again, this is the magic of, editing. That it is what it is.
Yeah, maybe it was the lighting or something, or or maybe he left and they're like, hey, Max, we need you to have like a little goodbye with the others. He's like, oh, but I just finished shaving my chest and I was going to go relax. Okay, fine. And going back out there. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I was more shocked about his chest here because for some reason, and like you said, it was probably the lighting. I'm not going to lie. I noticed the chest hair. I don't know if he had a growth spurt or what, but it was kind of obvious. I did notice it, but let's move on. So Max leaves, and what happens? I mean, he says goodbye to everybody. What did you think about his farewells?
For a second, I thought he was only going to see Matt and Chini and be like, here's the scrubber bullhide, bye. And I was just like, oh, is he not going to say goodbye to Patrick and Darren? But no, we see him walk up and I'm like, oh, it would have been hilarious if he just said goodbye to Chini and Matt. And he's like, I like you more than the other two. Goodbye. But I think it was really sad and everyone was very shocked. But I thought it was hilarious when Patrick's like, 3 out of 4 legends are gone. Looks like the Legend Slayer did his thing. Darren's just like, I don't know about that. And I think that was the first time I've ever laughed during a Last One Standing.
I mean, I laughed out loud. Did you see my post? I went straight to a fan group. I didn't put second best line, but that was the second best line I've ever heard on Last One Standing. But let's talk about this a little bit because there was all this controversy about why, the girls left. And it's really surprising to me that people haven't really been talking a lot about Jermaine leaving. But I think that we can kind of lump all these together. Jermaine, the girls, and Max. People were not happy. I don't know why they left, but people were not happy. And that's the only reason why you leave is because you're not happy.
Right. I think the reason why people aren't really talking about it with Jermaine was, at least based on what I saw in the True Fans group, people weren't really on his side. So when he left, they're like, of course he left. And then with Max, he was just like, I'm traumatized by the 3 women leaving. I gotta go. But then when Laura, Kayla, and Trish left, they were like, whoa, controversy, speculation. Exactly. This person got into these people's minds. These people got into these people's minds. And it's just a whirlwind of chaos.
Now we have everybody who's, I believe, is going to self-tap has self-tap. Nobody else is self-tapping, right?
I believe you're correct. I don't think anyone else is going to be self-tapping. Hopefully the last 3 people can be eliminated because as of right now, we have only had 3 people of the 10 that have left actually be eliminated from the challenge. And 2 of them were in the second episode.
You're right. I didn't even think about it. List them off. Do you have them off the top of your head?
Well, I have the placements right here and how they left. Okay, so in 13th and 14th place, we have Trent and Kayla C, who were eliminated during the fire line challenge. We have Kai, who was meg tapped, and we have Suzanne, who was eliminated way back in the boiling challenge. Yeah, and then Jamie, who was also med tapped. I think Jamie and Kai were the only ones who were med tapped. Then we have Jermaine in 9th place, who self tapped. Laura, Kayla, Trish in 8th to 6th place who self-tapped, and finally 5th place Max who also self-tapped. So
Yeah, we're never going to see Max again, ever. I mean, we will never see Max. I guarantee it. What do you think? I'm surprised we saw him this time, to be honest with you.
I mean, I can see him wanting to compete, but I think his last line was saying how he's completed his Naked and Afraid journey. So I don't think we'll see him back, but it's not like a closed loop. He's just said like my journey is over, but maybe he can come back for one more thing. He could be like Stephen Lee Hall Jr., where it's like if it's like something new and different, and maybe I can mentor, then maybe it could be something different. But yeah, I think we may not see him anymore. I think he may be one of the legends who are retiring.
Okay, so we talked about, they said, Patrick points out, like you said, that funny joke about 3 out of the 4 legends leaving. So the legends were Matt, who's still there. Who else?
We have Kai, we have Laura, and we had Max.
Okay, so now Max is gone. Tell us what happens. Lead us up until Matt takes that shot at the pig.
Oh, gosh. Basically it's internal monologue time where everyone's kind of giving their thoughts and feelings, and Jeannie's talking about being the last woman standing and how she wants to prove herself. Darren talks about how he lives and breathes survival. And Patrick talks about, he's the legend slayer. He must slay all the legends, even though Australia has been doing more of the legend slaying than he has. And Matt talks about how he wants to show his skills and stuff like that. And there's also another funny moment where Patrick, he's hunting for pigs and he goes racing after some pigs, and there's this adorable little piglet and he's like, I'm gonna get you, Piglet, and Piglet's just like, no, and it gets away. But it was just a funny moment.
Okay, well, that happens after Matt takes his shot. But since you're
Whoopsies.
talking about it, let's talk about it. Okay, that pig, and then he makes a comment like, that pig could have failed me for the rest of the challenge. The baby
The baby
was about
piglet
the size of my
this
head.
big.
What was he thinking running after that little baby?
I mean, well, Jermaine, it's funny how he's like, oh, Jermaine was running after the piglets when he told me not to run after him. But I think Patrick in his mind is just like, I'm still running after the pigs. Why would I listen to Jermaine? But
And didn't Patrick say that he could outrun a pig? Didn't he say that?
yeah, I'm sure he's like, yeah, after so many meters or yards, they get gassed out and you can take a shot then. But that piglet was running faster than him. And even Patrick, who's the Energizer Bunny, who is just like, I am gassed from that. And it's like, really, Patrick?
Tricky, tricky, tricky. You got tricked. Okay, so Matt takes a shot at a pig. This is what I cannot understand. We're going to kind of speed this up. Why are these pigs, including Patrick's, so god darn close to these survivalists? I mean, it's crazy how close they are. Even in the last episode, remember Max got so close that he almost could have hit one?
Yeah. I'm wondering if maybe around that time there weren't a lot of crew members around, because I'm sure around day 20 or so, the survivalists are not smelling good, or they're smelling more like the wilderness.
That doesn't mean that they're not dangerous. I just think they're a little bit more used to them.
Yeah.
So he gets the pig. The noise that the pig makes is pretty horrible.
Why did they include
that?
that?
I don't know. To make it seem real. It was pretty horrible, was it not?
It reminded me of I think the Nutria and XL8 that I think Matt got. Why do we need to hear these sounds? Like, we already see them processing these animals. We see we see so many things on screen. I don't need to hear this. That they could have just cut out that sound and just left it silent. And then he shoots the second arrow and then he's like, yeah, but no, they had to include that moment. And it's just like, but I'm sure a lot of people are like, oh, that's the reality of hunting. They'll make those noises. You should toughen up. And I'm just like, but I don't want to. I don't want to hear that on my screen. Or that audio.
It was just so loud. It was like almost like they had the microphone up to the pig. I mean, it was just so loud. I don't mind it so much, but I think they amped it up for whatever reason they wanted to amp it up. So anyway, we have Patrick. Matt gets it and he does that little internal monologue. Am I going to share? And as he's saying it, I was really hoping he wouldn't. Not because I dislike anybody else. I just thought it would be good to see Matt do something a little bit different.
Yeah, the descriptions threw me off because it's like, or let me see, it was like a survivalist gets a big game kill and plots to shift the balance of power, and I'm like, but Matt is already at the like top of the power board. Who is
Mm-hmm.
he shifting power from? He's like up here, like in terms of like hunting and stuff. I don't understand. So they got me. I thought maybe Patrick would have gotten it, but no, it was Matt again, of course. Why was there any doubt
Of
in my mind?
course. Well, I would have liked to see him not share. What about you personally? Do you think he should share, not share? It would have been good either way. Or maybe even a compromise of portioning out just a little bit because he gave one guy a leg and another guy a leg. I was like, you're giving them both legs?
Yeah, I think if he, or I think it would have been good if he shared with Genie. He's like, hey, look, I know you're tough. We can have like a kind of an alliance thing going on, and like we can be like a step up from the other two just in case. But I don't think Matt was thinking that way. He was just like, here, let me feed him because I'm such a
Yeah,
good guy. And it's just like, well, where's the
I was a little
tension in that?
disappointed in that. Yeah, I was a little disappointed in that choice, and I think he fed him way too much. I think he should have just given him a very small portion. As a Boma, y'all sit down and break bread, but don't send them home with leftovers. You send them home. All they needed was the Tupperware. What are you thinking? I don't know. But anyway,
Well,
so
yeah.
go ahead.
Or I was just gonna say, I thought it was funny how he's like, look at these figs that I found. Let me show you the fig tree that I found. Like, oh, did I say fig? I meant pig tree. And I'm just like, Matt. Maybe he was just
I thought
like,
that was
ha.
corny.
Yeah, it was so
I
corny.
didn't think
Maybe it
it
was
was
like
that funny.
well, I mean, maybe it was like his version of like a power play, like, ooh, look at me, I made a pig tree. But
Yeah, no, I didn't think that joke was that funny. And poor Darren, he had his like a little pouch. I guess he was ready to get the figs. He was like, I really need this sugar. And I was like, I just thought it was kind of weird. Okay, so then we go to Chini. Chini's not in the group because she missed out on his excellent joke because she's fishing. She catches some big fish, and then Patrick goes fishing. And Patrick does not get any fish, but then he starts feeling icky. Patrick, you know how I feel about you, I think, but I hated seeing you icky. You were sick. You were on the verge. And then I thought back about you chasing that little pig. I'm like, maybe that's what he gets. No, I don't want to see you sick. What did you think about him getting sick?
oh gosh, I don't really remember him getting sick. I just remember him being like, oh no, I hunted and I failed and I used so much energy. And then he's fishing. He's like, oh, I really wanted to get some fish, but I failed. And he's just sitting in his cave. He's just like, maybe.
Honey, child, he was almost in heat stroke. I'm telling you, he's like, my brain's not functioning. I feel, woozy. And for you to sit down in the sun when you're already woozy means you don't have the energy. I think he was in a danger zone. I think he got out right in time. He goes to his camp and Darren's resting. He's like, yeah, I'm resting today. And Patrick's like, I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I remember it now a little bit, but yeah,
Mm.
I think it was just kind of the juxtaposition of Sheenie and Matt's success with Patrick. And I think it's kind of the edit being like, okay, Legend Slayer, I think, you started off at the top of the pack, but you're kind of slipping now. So it's just like danger
Yeah,
for Patrick. And
danger. And I think that's
exactly.
right.
Sorry,
It's a
Mike.
danger zone for Patrick. I agree with you. So there was a little bit more controversy for the, you know, super fans. I don't know if like the watchers would get this, but they're processing the pig, they're eating the pig together, and he starts talking about his salt. Now, I'm going to say this. If they didn't penalize him, then he didn't break a rule. But it did kind of seem to me at some point they said that you couldn't share. Maybe rules have changed, but I think a lot of stuff is getting lost in the edit. Did you see the controversy about Matt sharing his salt?
I did not see that. And I think the rules were like you can't share one survival assets. And he definitely won that salt, so he shouldn't be sharing that. He
So
can
you
share the
agree?
pig. Well, I'm saying he shouldn't, but I mean, if the producers are like, hey, you're helping your competitors out, this may come back to bite you, have at it, but
But you know what? Now that I think about it too, this was at night, so the crew might have been gone. And so he's sharing the salt. And now the producer's like, well, we can't kick Matt out. We can't disqualify him. I don't know. I
yeah,
don't know if there was given a warning, but to me, you weren't supposed to share the salt. But c'est la vie, it is what it is. Matt's going to share, share, share. Then it starts raining. And I knew it was going to rain because in the very beginning of the show, do you remember when Matt was like, the weather is so perfect?
exactly. And I was watching it, and sometimes I watch with other individuals and they're like, huh, why aren't they making a shelter out there? And I'm just like, huh. Well, and I didn't think about it. Then an hour later in the show, it's just like thunder clouds rolling in, and they're just like, whoopsies. And Cheeny's worried because of her Raynaud's. And so she's like, I can't get cold. And so I was just like, yep, this is Mother Nature just being like, oh, you thought you were comfortable. Take that. Thunderstorm.
And I was so surprised. And then they covered up their meat. They're making the jerky. I was really worried about their jerky. But you know what? They move on to the two-part challenge. Two-part challenge, Gabe. Break down the rules.
Okay, so the survivalists are tasked with making a rocket stove. Now, a rocket stove, basically, you find a hill or something and you dig kind of a tunnel that goes at a 90-degree angle. You set a fire at the bottom. The heat kind of shoots up out of the top, and they have to boil a pot of water on top of it. And once they do that, they race to the finish line, and then they get the choice of a paracord, paracord, a knife, and a number of yappies, while fourth place gets nothing.
Nothing. So
Nothing.
let's talk about the challenge. Seep well, pretty easy. Anybody can do it.
Oh, yeah, seep
You
well.
dig a
Yeah.
hole. And that water came up really fast. I don't know. I don't think this was editing magic. I think the water came up really fast.
Yeah, I was surprised because it's like I completely forgot they needed to dig a seep well for that because, I think they all just did a few scoopfuls and then were out of there to dig their holes. I think maybe Cheenie had a little bit more time trying to dig the seep well because her Raynaud's. And for those who don't know, Raynaud's is a condition where it affects the circulations in your hands. So you can't really feel your hands and you kind of lose feeling in them. And so she's not as dexterous in the
Right.
cold.
I think she was that far off, but she did say that she didn't know how to build a rocket stove. So they make the rocket stoves. Patrick and Darren both make theirs where they're using the top of the cliff, which I thought was a million times better. However, Cheenie and Matt decided to build it inside of the cliff on the side of the wall. I feel like you had to make the hole a lot bigger. I didn't personally like it, but what did you think?
I thought it was two very unique approaches. I think the way it was described, how if you have it coming out the top of the cliff, like Darren and Patrick, you would have to find a way to get the air to come out of the top, while Cheenie and Matt, because it was kind of a shelf, you could set the pot in there so you didn't have to worry about elevating it a little bit more so that air can get in. And so it's two different strategies. And I would agree that I think Patrick and Darren's, as long as you remembered to elevate the pot a little bit so that air can get in, or so that the chimney can work properly, then I think that would be the more helpful one.
And so the main thing I think was at one point they showed Darren and he had a couple of trinkles of water in his hair. So I think it could have rained. I think that had it rained, of course, Matt and Cheenie would have had a big advantage. Hence why Matt went underneath that little cover to make his fire because of potential rain. Darren used the logs, and I think that's why he beat Patrick. Agreed?
Yes, I agree.
Okay. And I think that Patrick lost because he didn't have logs on top of his hole.
Exactly. He was
Like
kind of
Darren
smothering the top of. Yeah, his pot was smothering the top of it, so the hot air wasn't able to, go through as quickly. It was just kind of and Darren's was like whoosh, whoosh.
Okay, so this is my important question to you. Do you think that Cheenie copied Matt. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it. She said she didn't know how to do it. Do you think she was kind of looking and saw that he was digging, on the side of the wall and that's how she started digging? Or, I mean, I've seen rocket stoves and all the rocket stoves that I've seen, it's always been on the top. Do you think she copied?
I think so because she could have, or, this is speculation, allegedly, where maybe she was thinking, okay, I could either have a spot next to Darren or I can have a spot next to Matt Wright. I'm going to go next to Matt Wright and see what he's doing. And Matt kind of was on a steeper part of the hill. So I guess Cheney kind of positioned herself a little bit lower and kind of copied his method, but was a little bit, or her positioning of her stove was a little bit better than his because he was a little bit more at the top of the hill and she was kind of in the middle, so she could position herself a little bit better. So she probably could have watched what he was doing.
And I mean, I've said in the past, that's what you should do. So I think Cheney did not lose because of Matt. Okay, because Matt has so many difficulties. Matt overthinks. He makes things harder for himself. He doesn't take shortcuts. Even the one time where he thought he was taking a shortcut, he made it longer for himself and didn't come in first when they were making the dome. So he's always making things harder for himself because I think he's a perfectionist, he's a teacher, and he's an expert. And if you're a Picasso and they tell you to draw, the sunset, well, you know what? People who don't know how to draw are just going to draw a circle and a line. Picasso is going to do a whole bunch of stuff. So even though I'm getting on to you, Matt, I'm comparing you to Picasso. That's the best way I can think about it. You're doing too much because you're so talented. And I don't even think you can get it out of your head because you're so darn talented. Right, Gabe?
I agree. And when he found the overhang to make his fire, because he's like, oh, I don't know about the rain. I'm like, oh no. And you talking about him overthinking came to mind because he's like, oh no, I need to think about like if it starts raining a little bit harder. And I'm like, no, focus on making the fire underneath the thing and go from there. Because if it rains, then everyone is going to have a problem. He's overthinking and he's like, oh, so I'm gonna just, okay, come over here, camera crew. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna, make a fire under here so it could be covered from the rain. And it's like, Matt, and it's like a good distance away from his rocket stove. So he has to run back and forth. And he was one of the last ones to get his rocket stove complete. And I'm like, this is the second time in like a fire related challenge where he's like overthinking and it caused him problems.
Yes.
Than in the first challenge.
Exactly. And then so Patrick says, if I beat Matt, I am a legend slayer. No, but you didn't beat Matt, in my opinion. And I'm not trying to take anything away from you. I don't think you beat Matt. I think Matt made things way more difficult for himself, as he always does, because he's an expert. And also, Patrick, buddy, Matt's been feeding you. So I don't think that you're slaying anybody. I think you're playing the game well, but I don't think you're slaying.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like he's not really believing the words himself. He's just kind of saying like, oh, this will drum up controversy. But, in the beginning, he's like, yeah, Legend Slayer, I beat all these survivalists in this fire making challenge.
I think Matt's beating himself. I really do. He obviously is a lot better than any of those other people. I think Matt's probably would have been one of the best because he did take so many precautions. But this ain't about being the smartest. It's about just winning. Cut it down some. So anyway, let's get to the friction tease. We all know that, and they know that friction fire's coming. Cheney gets the paracord, and that's a great win, we think. But so they start practicing. They're all practicing their hand drills and their bow, and Cheney's doing her bow drill, and so is Matt. Thought that Patrick would have been a lot. I don't know how to say this. I think Patrick would have been way more vocal about his fire building skills because he got eliminated last time. It's something that I think would haunt me, and I would be able to do all different types of friction fires because it beat me the last time. But he didn't seem so mouthy and talky this time, did he?
No, and we also, maybe he saw how, it has happened in the past where, some two individuals weren't able to make friction fire and then they come in the next season and they also didn't make friction fire again. So maybe he saw that and he's just like, I'm going to make sure I am the most prepared for this challenge that I ever
And
could
not
be.
be
And I'm
mouthy.
exactly like, he's like, oh, like we didn't hear about him gathering materials until this episode. So, well, we don't know if he mentioned it before, but the fact that he was gathering materials so far in advance. Like, I think day 17, he's thinking he's going to be there for 40, 45 days. So he's already like planning it out. I'm like, oh, so this is an interesting new strategy for Patrick, just kind of being low key and being like, okay, I'm going to focus on this. I know this was my shortcoming last time. I will not fail again because I will be prepared.
I think everybody was preparing, everybody, because they know that's the hardest thing to do. I think it's the hardest thing to do for even the best of the best. Even Matt was having problems with his samples until Chidi comes over with her darn pea bush and she's sharing information with them. And I'm like, is this smart or not smart? And I determined it was smart when Matt says, hang on, determined it was smart when Matt said, we have to make sure it's us two in the end. And it smelled like an alliance to me. And I've been waiting for some alliance action. I got some alliance action low key. What do you think about Sheenie and Matt kind of teaming up? They're teaming up, right, Gabe? That's what I saw. What did you see?
I think that they were teaming up in this challenge because I think that I know a lot of people were criticizing Chini about not sharing her one yappies because, Chini got first, Darren got second, Patrick got third, and they all got yappies. But there's that rule, can't share one asset. So, and it's like, and Matt's like, I want everyone to be at their best. And then Chini is like, I'm appreciative of this help, and I'm not gonna be like, oh, if he's gonna feed me, I'll let him feed me. She's like, okay, he's fed me. He's having some difficulty. Let me give him a hint or two and see how he does it. Because maybe if she's having difficulty, she could just, look over and be like, oh, that's what he's doing. Okay, I'll try that. And hopefully either beat him or at least get second or third.
Yes, and they didn't show it. And I was really ticked off. You know what? I'm going to be honest with you, editors. Y'all are under my skin, but I love it. I love how y'all tick me off. I cannot believe how they said that Matt built a fire so super duper fast, and they didn't show us any of it. I don't know if he had a flame. I don't know if he had a coal. I don't know what he had, but Chini seemed real impressed.
Yeah, he's like, oh, I had results in 5 minutes, but maybe because maybe they didn't, a cameraman wasn't nearby and the closest camera was the overhanging one that looked over from it and they couldn't like zoom in and be like, look, it there, you can see smoke there. Zoom and enhance cliche. But
I know, I agree, but I was really upset. I was like, oh, that's a good tease. And I think you're right. It was a technical tease. But you know what? I think even if they would have had a close up, they might not have shown it, you darn editors. So, do you think what Chini and Matt said, let's get it concise. I want a concise answer from you. The way that they talked, do you think that they have an alliance?
yes.
Yay! I do too. I do too. It's getting good. And I'm really surprised because I also thought Darren and Matt might have an alliance. And who knows? Darren, Matt, and Chini might be like, hey, we're going to stick together. Patrick's the fourth man out. Maybe that's what they're thinking. I don't know. I think it would serve Patrick right, even though I think he's secretly really, really in love with Darren and Matt. I think that he really adores them in his own special way, but he's still playing that character. But I think your character needs to suffer. All right. So they pack up, they get ready, for they all think they got their little strategy going on. They're like, yeah, I got this. I got this. They're so proud of themselves. And Patrick's face, when they say that you must surrender, the word surrender, and his face looked like someone had just stolen his puppy, then shot it. It was horrible.
And he had so much stuff with him too. It's like, pack up your camp and go to this location. And he has like 20 different ways to start a fire. Who's gonna buckle under the pressure? And it looks like, based off of all the reactions, that Patrick was the most like, no.
Well, I will say this. He had been collecting for a while. Everybody had been collecting for a while. The producers are right there with you. Everybody's with you. I would not be surprised that the producers like, oh, they think they got us. Oh no, we're going to get them. Let's make sure we add this to the rules. I think that's a big possibility because everybody was doing it and things like that, and they don't want it to be like that. So they want it to be as hard as possible. They're succeeding because everybody looked like they were going to cry.
Exactly. But I think that's such a clever way to like, oh, we're gonna amp up the competition right now. It's like you have your made stuff. Now let's get everyone on equal playing fields. Let's see you go get those materials now and start a fire as fast as you can. So it can, I feel like that really ups the tension. It's like, who will make that mistake based on the pressure sooner and unfortunately get fourth place. But I thought it was a very good idea.
I love the idea. I think it was great. So this also brings in the paracord. Let's mention that. So most likely, Chini's not going to be able to use her paracord either for her friction fire. And that's why she chose it, was because she was thinking about fire. So if they can't bring in any assets or anything they prepared, I would assume paracord would be out. Or do you think they're going to make an announcement saying she can use it?
As long as she didn't use the paracord to like make a hand or bow drill, I think like if it's by itself, then I think it's fine. But if it was used for like a bow of a bow drill or however you craft it, well, I don't think you would use it for a hand drill. But if she had used it for a bow drill, then I think that would be out. But if it was just paracord by itself, I think she could use that
in the challenge coming up.
Correct.
Okay, so you think that she might be able to use it because it wasn't already crafted.
Exactly.
Okay,
but
let's see.
But she would have to make her own bow drill, and that might take time. So she's like, okay, here, let me do a hand drill. I can make one real fast, but once your hands are shot, you can't really use it anymore.
Yes, I'm very curious to see what happens. I'm telling you, I am over the moon about what's about to happen. This is exciting. This brings me back to Jeff, just trying to make fire, Steven giving up, Gary crying. Fire, oh my gosh, I love it. I would not be able to do this, I don't think, unless my life depended on it. Even if it was $200,000 or $300,000, I think my life would have to depend on for me making a friction fire out there like that. I'm hyped. Are you hyped?
I'm excited, and during one of the like trivia games that the Uncensored Misfits do, I won a bow drill kit, and I've used it like 3 times, and I only got a coal once, but I wasn't able to sustain it properly, so I would not be able to do this either.
Well, we should practice. We should definitely practice, and that's with a made bow drill. It was hard to do. Imagine out there in the wild. What do you think's going to happen? We're close to the end. We only have how many episodes left?
2.
I know, this is crazy. Someone's going home next Sunday, and they better show who's going home. They're going to show tomorrow. I mean, they're going to show next Sunday, right?
I don't think they're going to spend 2 hours on a friction fire challenge and then not show who's going home.
Okay.
I don't think. Because
who's
I actually
going home? Go ahead.
Or I have should I read out the summary for next week's or just read out this last sentence? Okay, so.
No, read off the summary.
Okay, so the title of the episode is Flame On or Flame Out. And the summary is, in a grueling friction fire challenge, Patrick is thrown when competitors are forced to relinquish gathered materials. Chini has a key advantage, but her strategy puts her at risk. Blisters on Matt's hand could send him home. A survivalist is eliminated. So I think someone's going to be going home.
You know how you feel about survivalists. You don't think it's Matt.
I don't think it's Matt. And based off trailers.
Oh, wait, hang on. Let me get prepared and give you my full attention. Tell me your predictions, oh wise one, Gabe.
I think people are going to be very, very, very happy about next episode, if that's any hint.
Don't give us hints. You spill it. Spill it.
Okay.
Who's going home?
I think that Patrick, the Legend Slayer, will be the 4th place finisher of Last One Standing Season 2. AKA he's going home next week.
And tell me why you think that. So everybody will know that people aren't just whispering in your ear. Why do you think that?
Well, I'm only whispering in my own ear. But I think that is because, one, the summary says a survivalist is eliminated. And in the past, when Kai went home, the summary said a legend goes home, and then with Max it was a top contender goes home. And so I think that Matt's going to be safe. And also during the trailers, there's a point where you see some people jumping off a cliff. There are two people you can clearly see jumping off a cliff into water, and that's Darren and Cheney. And I think during the wide shots you see Matt, but I think based off that, I think that Patrick is going to be going home next episode, and the internet is going to unfortunately rejoice. I still want to chat with Patrick about anime and stuff, but I think that next week people are going to be elated and be like, I hope that Cheney or Matt or Darren, I see a lot of people saying Cheney or Matt, but Cheney and Matt make it all the way through. Oh, this is the best episode ever, and we'll see what happens. But yes, I think that Patrick goes home next week. Sorry, Patrick.
Well, I don't know how I feel about it. I think Patrick has. Well, I'll tell you how I feel about it after we see if he goes home. Let me just hold this in for now. We'll see what happens next week. Is there anything else you want to discuss about this past episode?
Let's see. I kind of feel bad for Darren because of his edit, because, you know, he talks about like, he was saying he was doing something for 35 years and he has so much experience, but unfortunately, his storyline, he's kind of in the shadow of Matt a little bit, because he and Matt kind of like live and breathe survivalists, but because of Matt's successes during this last one standing, and the fact that Matt's, you know, he's had so many ups and downs, and Darren has kind of been like a little bit down, a little bit up. So I kind of feel bad for Darren's edit, and he's kind of getting lost in the edit. And I don't see a lot of people talking about him as much as the other three. So I kind of feel bad for Darren about that, but he is very talented, and I hope he can come back for another challenge at some point, because he's completed 2 challenges, was on last season, but was med-tapped and is making it to top 4 of this season. But I want to see like more of what he can do and stuff like that.
Okay, so if I was Darren, okay, Darren's amazing. The 35 years, I think he was talking about making friction fires for 35 years because he said his father had to take out the smoke detector batteries.
Oh yeah, he would be in the basement.
Yes. So he said he was 9 there and plus 35. So he's about, 45 years old now. But you're 100% right. Darren is a unique nut. I love him. He is so unique. And sometimes when he talks and they're not showing it, I think it's Matt, but it's actually Darren. I have to go back and watch. I'm like, oh, that was Darren. That wasn't Matt. Darren, you are reaching a lot of people's hearts, even though you're not getting a lot of screen time on this last one. You are catching people's hearts and souls, and I truly believe that. I would not like to see him on Last One Standing, the next one. I would like to see him on a couple more other challenges and then Last One Standing, not because I don't want him to win. I just don't want him to leave, because I feel like once you win Last One Standing, you're kind of donezo. So I don't want that.
Yeah, I want him to be like officially on the list of legends, because I know in his first challenge, I think he may hold the record, or at least be in like the top 5 survivors who lost the least amount of weight during their challenges, because he got so many rats, he lost only 6 pounds on his 21-day challenge. And then on his XL, he and Steven kind of got into a little bit of an argument, and people kind of took Steven's side. And so he was on the same season as me. He's a great guy.
It's very, very good. And you have to watch this. And we thank you for watching this one. And we love you. It's getting to the end. Who is going to win, Gabe? And then sign out. Who's going to win?
I think that Matt's going to win.
I think not Patrick is going to win.
Dang it, I should have said that. Cheney's going to win, and I'm going to feel so foolish.
Stay tuned for the next one, and we're out. Love you.
Bye. Thank you for being here.